gave an incredible talk, and then was in the chat, kind of engaging with folks and going back and forth, which was incredible.
That's right. So Devin and Celestia, hats off to you two for being in that space.
Yeah. And
managing the community. Oh, and the Instagram? What else were they
The
doing?
Instagram, they were the ones
posting. Shout out for the Instagram. Follow the Instagram.
It's outstanding. Go to Institute for CP.
Institute.
The Institute.
No, I mean, if they put that in, they get it.
Can we cut to the people who run the social?
Right.
Tell us how to get on the social.
I do the Twitter.
I know you do the Twitter. Celestia and Devin, can you tell us about how people?
I don't even claim I got 9 followers, so it doesn't matter.
You got a heck of a lot more than that, Yuru. It's at the Institute CP, and that's the same for follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. By supporting us, it spreads the word, it gets us out to more people so we can help protect the truth. And we've been posting clips throughout, highlights. We'll also be posting full videos. We already have put some up of each of the speakers, so that, I know many of you are taking notes throughout this. I know I was like scrambling rapidly, but we need to watch all of this again. We got to do many more 24 hours of watching these. So you can tune back in.
And you are Dr. Devin Geary. You just received your doctorate from the University of Washington.
Thank you. Yeah.
You started full-time with the Institute for Common Power on Monday and hit the ground running with a 24-hour teach-in just this week. You started a few days ago. Can you tell us what your title is and what you do for the Institute?
Well, it's so new. It's so new that I don't know if I even know my own title, but I believe I'm a senior program manager within the Institute.
That is right. You were just all tired.
And yeah, I got right back into work on Monday, and on Wednesday we were doing this 24-hour teach-in, and it is just reinvigorated and recharged me in a way that I know it has for so many others who do this work, and if not, are going to start doing this work because they're feeling majorly empowered and like this is a movement moment that we all need to be a part of. And so I've been just really, I have just a new reverence and respect for my colleagues who I've watched go up on stage or, speak for hours on end, giving incredibly powerful and riveting lectures. So this has been something that I've really cherished, and I'm so proud to be a part of this organization.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool. Well, just so you know, Devin, we do this every month. So just be ready. We're going to do another one. It's normal for us.
We're just
no sweat. So
cool. I thought it was weekly, so that's actually awesome.
Oh, you thought it was okay, great. No, we'd have to pay you more money then. Celestia, you didn't join too far before Devin. I think you joined maybe 2 weeks ago.
Well, full-time started Monday, the exact same day.
Oh, really? So we had you working before you. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. All right.
What's your background, Celestia, before you joined?
I'm a certified teacher, a special ed elementary school and middle school teacher, kindergarten through 8th grade.
Okay, what are you going to be doing for Common Power now?
So I'm a senior associate with Common Power. I work with, like what David likes to say, 4 different buckets. So I work with a program called Scholars in Motion that I work under with Dr. Terry Scott, which works with students in marginalized communities. I work with the teachers or teacher alumni or the educator ambassadors. So all the educators that come out of these learning tours that we do, like I did myself. I was on the first learning tour and it completely transformed me. So now I work with those educators on their journey through the learning tours. And then I also help assist with those. So I help with logistics with David and helping on the learning tours. And then I also, the big thing, the new thing is that I'm actually moving to Montgomery on Sunday. Well, I'm heading down there Sunday and I'll be working in Selma.
Hey, all right. Well done. And we didn't say this, Devin's also. Are you've taught college, right, Devin?
College educator.
I just want to call that out. Okay, because there's teachers all over the place at CP.
Yeah.
Teachers are professors. I know the difference. I mean, I'm learning that. So sorry.
You're good.
Teachers are
We're all
professors.
educators. We're all educators.
Educators.
We're all educators with a central goal of changing people's hearts and minds toward a better reality
Okay.
and truth.
Thank you, Devin and Celestia, for coming on. There's a certain order we're supposed to go in. I just want to call it out for the folks watching. And I'm going to call Ben. Can you come up and because we come here real quick, Ben, please. Can you? Well, it's not your moment to be recognized yet. This is your moment to tell us what's next because this is what you've been doing for the entire. Ben has been doing this the entire 24 hours, telling us what's next and getting us prepared. So it's supposed to be Devin and then Celestia, and then who's next?
I think you're already out of order.
Oh, everybody, did we start in the wrong order?
I think so.
Go ahead, correct us. And Ben also corrects us and puts us back in. Go ahead.
I think it's gonna be Jordan and David.
Yeah.
Jordan and David.
Jordan and David.
Okay.
That's right. They were supposed to be before Devin and
They were supposed to
Celeste.
be before.
Yeah, but you know what? We love it like this.
We do.
And then the people on the ground,
Okay.
right?
All right.
And then the people who are
Exactly.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
who are right here.
Okay. Thank you, Ben.
Yes.
Feel free to try to
Yeah,
come
I'm
back and get
Yeah,
us back.
I'm
in
gonna be over
order.
here.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Who's she saying?
David and Jordan. We have slept a handful of minutes.
Let's bring up David and Jordan. There you go. Okay.
All right.
Hey, how are y'all doing? Because we know that you have not slept that much
Right.
either.
Good. I'm doing
Oh,
good.
You're doing good? Really?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Am I?
hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was sick recently, but I feel better today. I feel good. I've been recovering.
Wait, you weren't just sick, like you had COVID. You had COVID and you're still in quarantine right now, and you got yourself up to do this. Let me just say that for everyone watching. You're like recuperating from a major illness and you're still here with us. Thank you.
and it's not a HIPAA violation. She said we could say that.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. You're right.
This is
You're
the
right.
beginning of the
I know, I
end of
have-
Common Power. The major lawsuit comes from this.
No,
That's
never,
funny.
never. No, I have my mask right here because whenever I go out to get like water or anything, I'm with my mom, so I have to have this right with
Have to
me.
have it on.
Can't. Yeah. So, but
Jordan
I
has been
wouldn't
working. Let's say Jordan's been working with the behind the scenes with the production company for weeks, in addition to doing all of the other things that she does for the Institute. And then she has been on this call, having been sick for the last 24 hours. So, and she just graduated
I was
last
saying,
week
Yeah.
from graduate school. Yes, she got a
She
master's.
earned a nickname from me.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you. Thank you.
We call Jordan Presto because everything she does looks like magic.
Wow. What do you think about
Thank
that?
you so much. That's so kind. I'm learning from you all,
It's true.
so it's a trickle down effect.
I trickle down from you to us. That's right.
That's right.
It's true.
So I just want to let you know that part of the wonder of these 24 hours is watching it get kicked to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was planned and you knew it, and sometimes it wasn't planned. And it wasn't like it didn't ever go to you and you weren't ready. Like you were ready to go. And you were speaking out the top of your head sometimes, and the top of your heart.
Yeah.
And I was amazed at every moment, just so you know. There was nothing that you did that disappointed us. It was wonderful. Thank you.
With questions and books and everything.
Yeah, that's right. Even when you were like, Uhuru, I'm gonna come up with a good question. Didn't she say
She
that?
did. And then she came up with a good question.
There you go. She said, I'm gonna do this thing, but later.
Presto.
Presto like that.
That's right.
No,
Okay.
thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm grateful to be in the organization, to be with you all. I couldn't be more it doesn't feel like work. You know, when they say when you're passionate about it, it's just what you should be doing. So I'm grateful and glad.
Thanks, Jordan.
All right, let's bring, is David the last of the online folks?
The last of the online folks. But before we go to the last of the online folks, I want to say something else about, because you all are scattered around the country. Jordan is in Phoenix, Celestia is in Maryland, David and Devin are in Seattle. This was a national effort. And this doesn't even include the other people across the Common Power family of organizations who helped with marketing, with scheduling, with watch parties. This was a collective effort of a group of people who are doing this work simply because it is the right thing to do. So we want to acknowledge all of those folks before we then bring in David as well.
Amen. Yeah, we're going to acknowledge everybody and then come back around to David because we got something for David. David, can we put David on the screen?
Like he's in trouble.
Yes, that's right. Would you say, come here? Can you come right here? Is that how you do it? You come right here.
We're all parents.
David, how you feeling, man?
I'm great. I'm doing great. I was just listening to everybody I've been listening to. Like if I put my head down, I can go to sleep. All right. Right now, everybody. And I'm doing great. I think my singular, well, anyways, I'm doing great.
David has been there when we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
David has stepped in, and not just to fill time, but also to think through talking to folks and asking some really good questions. Part of the way that this big ideas like this get done at Common Power is because David helps flesh out the ideas. Yeah. He's kind of secondhand to you in a lot of ways.
Well, I think we work as a team very much, right? Yeah. So we work as a team, David. And David, can you tell us what your background is before you came here? We're filled with educators here.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be on the faculty at the University of Washington for 23 years, from 1998 to 2021, as a professor of political communication, and had a chance to work with a lot of incredible young, talented people, including Devin Geary was one of them. And that's what I've done. In 2016, it was very apparent to me that it wasn't enough anymore to just teach. It wasn't enough to be an educator. As much as I love being an educator, it was not enough in my view anymore. So that was the pivot at which I began to think seriously about something outside of the university setting. And the great thing about Common Power is I don't think that we being Terry and me and Uhuru and Devin and everybody, that we haven't lost a single step in our education. In fact, we've picked up much larger abilities and possibilities being outside of the university settings for this work. And then it's been able to be combined with the absolutely essential voting work. So it's a perfect pairing for the moment.
I want to ask you, this is a live moment for everybody. You do a lot of lecturing and your own Zoom stuff. What do you think of David? What do you
You mean in terms of his Zoom skill?
Yeah,
He's pretty incredible. Especially last night when I was asleep for 3 hours and David was carrying the slack and he took over 2 of my shifts. So I thought it was seamless. I appreciated the enthusiasm in particular. It's hard to be, I'm not telling any of you anything you don't know because we all experience pandemic life together. To be able to inject life into a computer screen is very difficult. And yet when you have somebody as authentic as David, and the conversation as lively as it was banter between he and Jordan, it really helps to make for a great program. So David, thank you.
You're welcome. No, thank you. It's my privilege.
Yeah, little tidbit, the mic whisper moment. That was a partial David.
That's a David coup.
That was a little David thing. I want to also say that that this has been we've gone like a full character journey cycle here at the church, and we got a little bit of trouble in the beginning. I just want to call it, be honest. I was gonna be honest in the house of the Lord. We got a little bit of trouble in the beginning, and then David, we were redeemed, sir. We came back around, and we're forgiven, and now look, you see where we are. We made it back, okay? And you're a part of that. You're a part of that story. We're not always perfect. But our heart is always in the right place, And at the end, we always land where we're supposed to land, man. And that's the way it's been since the very beginning when we founded Common Power together. I love you. I love the way you always try, and your heart is always there, man. And let's go. I'm excited for the future.
That's right. I feel exactly
Thank
the same
you.
way, David. David and I used to work together at the University of Washington. That's when we first met. He was taking students on these incredible journeys through the South, these pilgrimages. I had heard from some of those students. We shared students. And I said, I need to find out more about this. So I contacted him. And by the time we actually met for coffee to talk about this, I said, it's great to meet you. I'm moving to Maryland. I took a different job.
Yeah.
But we stayed in touch.
Mhm.
And I started to go on those journeys with you. And it was last year when you and Charles approached me about the Institute.
Yeah.
And I said, let's go. I want to work with people, with you guys, with the people who are in Common Power and doing the work that you are doing. And now, and we haven't officially announced it, we've said it, but there will be an official announcement. Dr. Uhuru Williams, who is a professor at St. Thomas University, is our We the People Fellow at the Institute for Common Power. And we are so happy to have you. We're going to say one thing about Dr. Williams. We've known each other for several years, and he, not only is he a colleague, he is a friend, and he is a scholar who always seeks to uplift other scholars and extend opportunities to them. And so I very much have always appreciated that. You have helped me in many ways in my career. So thank you.
Feelings mutual. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So that's the transition to the inside the church. Ben, can you come back up? David, thank you, man. Thank
David, we want you to get some sleep. You have been working extremely hard from Seattle. Thank you, all of you.
Go put your head down,
Oh,
man. You
great work.
anything you want to add?
Well, two quick things. One is while in one of those like moments when we were tech wasn't working until Jordan and I were having a conversation, we actually talked at length about Uhuru being a We the People Fellow. So that news has been out there for like 8 hours or so. Okay,
They
so
leaked it. They already
You know
leaked it.
what,
okay.
David? You didn't tell me, I would have never known that you guys had done that.
No,
You were doing so well, David.
That explains all the text I was getting from people.
That's great. I'm
and-
glad that.
And second, I would just say that what we do best, my reflection here is, so this is my reflection on this experience.
Wait, is that you
What
asking
we-
for the single screen? I think he's asking for the single screen. He wants us to
No,
move.
no.
He said Myra. Can you move it to the David? Just the David.
Right, this is where Stephen A.
He's
Smith
nervous.
says,
He's
can I
worked
can I
hard.
be on the screen here? Can I be on the screen right now? Okay, okay. No, what we do best, and we all know this, is when we go out into the field, right?
Yeah.
When we're out in the field, we know that we come together in a way that is magical, is special, and to go out into the field with partners is even better. And so in this case, we had the chance to go out in the field with Uhuru to build a relationship with Pastor Williams and Great Mount Zion Greater AME Church there, and to have with us so many people that are part of this organization. To me, Charles, you probably noticed this, but the church is only about 4 blocks from the hotel where we staged, where we collected our literature when we knocked doors in 2018 in Florida. And we knocked doors in that neighborhood right there. And we helped to pass Amendment 4, which provided voting rights restoration to formerly incarcerated people. The folks that we are working against now have made it almost impossible to get those voting rights. But it was that moment in time when I think we as a CP began to see who we could be, and that with a cross-racial group that we worked with in the within SEIU there. And so it's like coming back home, and that St. Petersburg will always be special for us. That's where you and I were in the rainstorm, Charles.
We were, man. Knocking on doors in the rain. That was ill prepared, man. I remember I had light colored shoes and red pants on, and those shoes are ruined
Because
forever.
of that.
Forever.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to do in Florida rain, but it was a one of a kind experience. for
And
sure.
since that day, and neither you, David, nor Charles will say this, since that day that you guys were here, you have changed an untold number of lives on this journey that you've taken to this point. So I wanted to recognize that.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Well, I'm going to watch and then I'm going to fall asleep. Okay. So I'm going to watch the
As you
last
should.
bit. But I want to see
You did it.
everybody because this is a team. We'll see ya.
Bye-bye.
Go ahead.
Well, quickly, I want to reiterate to people who are watching, because we've gotten a lot of texts and messages. This is being recorded and it will be played. So we're going to ask you to continue to send it out, to watch it again. We had so many people who stayed with us the whole time. It's impossible, well, not impossible, challenging to stay up the whole time. So once it's ready, we will let everybody know. We are in the church. I explained to you from the beginning why we have started and why we chose to have this here in the church. And we want to recognize the people here on the ground in St. Petersburg, Florida, that have helped to make this happen.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Real quick though, there are videos that are currently on the YouTube site to your point. So if you want to go back, you may not be able to watch all 24 hours right now. You got to get that video ready, but there are some other videos that are already set to go. So if you want to share those and tell people about this experience and what it was like, you can pull some of those videos immediately. The other thing was you mentioned comments, and I just wanted this is a little bit about Terry. Terry reads every single one of your messages and comments. She knows who all of you are. It is a gift and a curse. So if you want to tell Terry how much you love the Institute and Common Power and the work that we're doing, or you just want to reach out to her, she will probably see it. If you use any of the channels, even the social media channels she can't name, she will see that. She will see that.
That's true.
Okay.
Very quickly, we want to recognize all the speakers who contributed to this program. Like, seriously, we're so grateful to Kara Sonia Whitehead, to Ivory Tolson, to Ashley Farmer, to Stefan Bradley. It would be impossible for me to name everybody, but we are really grateful. There's one person in particular that we do want to thank, two people in particular, that we asked first before anyone else. First was Wilmer Leon. He is a dear friend, very well connected. When we made the call to him, just like the other person that we're about to recognize, his answer was, you just tell me when, you tell me where, and I'm there, because he's a very close friend of Pastor Williams in this community and just a great ally. And the other person is somebody who I've called a friend at this point now for 20 years, somebody I've greatly admired. What I love about this brother is no matter how busy he is, if it's in the service of the community, his answer is, tell me when to be there. He doesn't ask you about, it's never about compensation. It's never about, all it is where do you need me? When do you need me? And I'll be there. And that's Hassan Jeffries. That's why we love him so much. So.
Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, it was a no doubter. It was a no brainer and a no doubter. Because of the work that you all are doing, I'm happy to be a part of it. And we have to do it together. And so if it's in my ability, I'm certainly gonna try and keep trying. So thank you. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you for coming here.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, when I heard he was coming, I was like, you really got it like that.
He like family, he never said no.
When you send us a bad signal, you gotta respond. You know what I'm saying? You gotta respond. You gotta respond.
Appreciate that.
No, for
Thank
sure,
you so
for sure.
much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like we said, we do this every month now, so you got to come in.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's, can we come back up, Ben? Can you?
Yeah.
So we checked off, we got these
Okay.
people.
All right.
and
So we have the staff.
Okay.
And then, yes, okay. So I don't know what order we're in anymore. I think we're just gonna do what makes sense. So there's me and Matthew.
Mhm.
That's
What
one.
do you guys do?
Um,
SCP.
oh, like right now?
Yeah, what's your?
Go ahead, name other people first.
Okay.
Name Matt.
Okay, so me and Matthew is gonna go on, and then we want to recognize the wonderful staff and everybody on the backstage of this wonderful building and church that allowed all of this to happen. Daryl, shout out to you.
Daryl.
Orlando,
Wait, hold on, you gotta come up.
yeah, you really gotta come.
Come on,
Come
Darren.
on, come on. Nah, Orlando was with her, I think the entire
Orlando did not
night.
leave.
No, Orlando was here the entire 24 hours. He may have the least amount of sleep between all of us.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
Andy and I worked out together too. So
This morning?
no, yesterday. No.
And he was on Zoom too. He-
Yeah,
Orlando
Orlando
got on
This is Professor Orlando.
That's right.
Okay.
Professor Pizzana,
Mm-hmm.
bring him in there.
All right, please.
And then Daryl, appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Troubleshooter extraordinaire.
Daryl, save this, Daryl, save this.
Great work.
You did everything.
Well, working with you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank
Thank you guys.
And you.
you. Want to say a word?
It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. Can't wait to do it again next year.
Oh, next year.
Daryl, you good? Are you good? Daryl back up. Daryl ran home. He ran home.
There's also a total number of people, you know, like outside the
Okay.
halls, patrolling the perimeters,
Yes.
right? Like people were taking walks, making sure that we were comfortable and safe. There are also 2 other police officers that were here as well, so I want to recognize them.
9 in total.
Yeah,
9 in
nine.
total. Oh, we met 2, but there are 9.
Yeah.
So if I'm at 7, that's not
Did Matthew come up?
Yeah, Matthew. And
Matthew? Yeah, come up.
Come on,
And then
come on, Steve. Steve, we'll start with Steve's been a CP supporter since the beginning, since the very beginning. You are connected to somebody named Ty.
Yeah, I believe.
But Ty has been awake 24 hours, legitimately, on watch and taking notes. Ty took notes the entire time, so she needs to rest. Steve just kind of sat there and but we appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
where do you guys live?
We're living in Seattle. We live in Seattle and starting to feel like we live in Selma too. We've been there so much. So it's been an amazing journey. Ty and I have been involved from the time Charles was up in the stand at Washington Hall and raised his hand with some questions. And we got involved. So this has been just amazing, and what an event you guys put on. I couldn't be more proud of where the organization has gone. So thank you very much.
Thanks for getting food.
And I mean, Ty and I were in the audience. Most of the time we were about the only audience. So you were talking directly to us the whole time. You can't imagine how special that is. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, guys. We need those notes. You're gonna send those out to everybody, right? You're gonna say, okay. She's gonna mail them out, snail mail. Matthew, come up here, man. Matthew was not supposed to be here. Matthew was not supposed to be here. In fact, Ben and I talked to Matthew about.
He's supposed to move out of his dorm.
You're supposed to move out of your dorm. Are
That's
you
right.
really?
Yeah. So I took my last final the Thursday before I came on the trip.
Really?
where are you a student?
Good college.
Right.
Which is what? Oh, go ahead. Why are you asking?
So yeah. So Dr. Terry Scott used to be a tenured professor and head of the African American History Department.
American Studies and the History Department.
There we go. At Hood College in Frederick, Maryland. And she left there to become the director of the Institute for Common Power.
Right. You didn't have to say that, but that was good. Thank you. But you are. But you are there. You went to Action Academy. We spent a lot of time over the last 24 hours talking about Take Action. At the Institute, we say education to action. As a matter of fact, we have been posting a Google Doc that includes action. We'll send it out to you. You went through that program, and that program has led to you working even more with Common Power. You arrived here in St. Petersburg yesterday. From where?
From Pennsylvania.
And what were you doing there?
So
Keep it safe. Keep it safe.
yeah. So I was door knocking down there. Yeah.
Talking to voters.
That's right.
That's right.
And Ben.
And so the 3 of us were down there talking to voters, and he was like, "Hey, do y'all need help in Florida?" And I said, "Don't you have school?" And he was like, "Yeah, but I got to take care of." So we're gonna see. Look, we're gonna send your grades to Dr. Terry
Okay.
and your guru
Yeah.
and the pastor,
Okay.
and they're gonna make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
If your grades is silly, man, you'll be in trouble.
Okay.
But thank you. On a serious note, thank you very much for coming here, and being here. It was the time you gave us and the help you gave us. And you actually filled in some of the hosting roles
Yes.
when your Huru was sleeping.
Yeah.
Just your Huru. I knew you just slept for 3 hours.
I got 3 hours. I'm proud of you.
That's more than a handful.
No, he's the one who has the most.
That's right.
He knows how to work these things. That's why you work with him, because he knows how to. It's sustainability. It's about sustainability. But thank you for that.
Yeah.
We have one more other person we want to thank. And before we thank him, the reason why we are here at the Greater Mount Zion AME Church in St. Petersburg is because of a relationship that Dr. Williams has cultivated. Now, yesterday we opened the program at 6 p.m. and Charles and Uhuru started to tell you the story of how this came to fruition. That when we were in Selma during the anniversary of Bloody Sunday, it was Dr. Williams who said, you know what we need to do in the face of what's happening, in the face of this attack on truth in Florida and elsewhere in the country? We need to stage a 24-hour sit-in. We need to go back to this form of direct action that we see coming out of the modern civil rights movement and go to the place that needs help and speak up for the people who can't speak up for themselves because they are under threat of firing, of being marginalized, of being kicked out of the profession that they love. And so he said, let's do that. And we said, yeah, let's do that. And he said, I know a pastor, and I'm turn it over to you.
I said, I know the perfect person because Pastor Clarence Williams, in my estimation, walks the walk. I had the, I'm trying not to get emotional talking about this, distinct pleasure of coming here 2 years in a row as part of a series that he was doing for his parishioners in his community, where he's bringing in notable scholars of the African-American experience, just to build sensitivity and awareness around structural inequality and the history of Black people to help build that sense of consciousness necessary to do the work in this community. Social services, work with youth, I mean, you name it. And I was inspired by him. To me, he represented the old style minister whose investment in the community extended beyond getting people to that place of heavenly acceptance and recognizing that we have a duty and a responsibility to do those, do something for the people here on earth as well. He is a phenom, organic, intellectual, a philosopher, just a beautiful human being. Somebody who I've, again, and I'm really trying not to get emotional. We made one phone call and Pastor said, Common Power, Uhuru, Wilmer, come on. And that was it. And invited us into his home and supported us and embraced us as if we were his own. He jokes with me. He says, I only go to church one time a year and it's whenever I'm here. That's not exactly true, Pastor. I go on Easter as well. And he said, you got your 3 days in now, not 3 Sundays. He is an amazing human being, as Pastor Clarence Williams. And we really owe.
I don't know what I possibly could do to deserve that, but thank you so very much. One of the things that resonates when you look at people who have committed themselves, like our soul parishioners at time, and his lovely wife who did not come down to go cross country. And, it becomes difficult as a minister, as a pastor sometimes, because we get a lot of pushback. Parishioners will say, this is not where the church ought to be. This is political. This is, our job is to get people ready for the kingdom of heaven. I said, yeah, that's true. But should we give up on earth? Should we give up on the world that we live in because we're looking for a better place? I want to go to that place too. But I believe we can make the place that we live a lot better if we were to take the resources that we have. And, it's one thing to take people and tell them to get to the polls. It's another thing to have them competent when they get there, to have them able to understand the dynamics and the language of how legislation is formulated and put on a ballot. And it's important for us to remember that the church can't sit behind stained glass windows, looking at pictures of the disciples and Christ and never see the hurting world that's behind those glasses. And I think as a church, we have to remember that the reason we're able to shout on Sunday and the reason that we have faith in God is so that we can be resourced to go out on Monday and make the world better. Not just to complain about the problems of the world, but to own its problems and diligently search for solutions to make things better. I think as part of our faith in God, and our faith in God is the key. It's that power that gives us the strength to carry on. Now, I don't have the strength to stay up 24 hours like these young people do. Matter of fact, when I stayed up 24 hours, it was not to do things like this. It was other things. But, as you look around and you see the benefit of work like this. And I want to say this to this group. You know, one day I was, my first church, I had one member. It was the easiest church I ever pastored. I had no church fights, perfect attendance. The choir never had a fight because I was the choir, and I was mowing the yard one day. I was the yard man. And I'm mowing this yard, and I had this old pickup truck, and thank God the door would squeak. And I heard my door open over the lawnmower for some reason. And I looked around, and this guy, he's trying to get in my truck, and he had my little bag, and I took off running, and I ran him down. Back in those days, I was in great shape. And just as I got to him, he was getting ready to throw my bag in there. He says, "You're not a preacher. You run too fast." And I caught my bag, and I followed him down to the pool. And it was 7 or 8 people in there. And I said, "I tell you what, if I win, I give each one of you guys a meal. We're going to play some pool. If you lose, you come to church." Well, I had 9 people in church that next Sunday. What are you saying, Pastor? By any means necessary. So I want you all not to be discouraged about the 1 or 2 people or the 10 or 12 people or the 50 people that you may have, because your impact goes way beyond what you will ever see or understand it be. It's a wonderful thing to know in your heart that you not only did the right thing, that you made it possible for other people to do the right thing as well. So Common Power, keep up the good work. I think God has blessed you in a number of ways to continue the good work that you're doing. And here in St. Petersburg, when you all get on the plane tomorrow, and my job doesn't end till each one of you all are home safely. And we're going to pray in just a few minutes for traveling mercies for you, because there's something bigger than us in the world. Matter of fact, it's something so big that it made the world and everything else too. And whether you understand it or not, whether you realize it or not, whether you accept it or not, it's true. And I believe that God orders our steps. I just believe I'm crazy enough to believe that book that says, a man makes plans all day long, but God will determine whether they are successful or not. He'll do that. And we want God to keep our families safe while you're away from your children, your girls, your wife, your family, the people who love you. That God will watch over us. All of the things, his family, the parishioners' family, and everybody that's here. Well, we can't do that ourselves. What are you saying, Pastor? Those are the things that we pray for. Things we cannot change on our own. God would never do for us what we could do for ourselves. But the essence of faith is knowing that my reach is beyond my arm's length. It is. And you think about Christ and the enormous impact he had without the internet, without social media, without a cell phone. You can understand what he says. He says, "You know what? I've reached a lot of people. But in the days to come, you will reach many, many more." So keep reaching. Reach for your happiness. Reach for love. It's not going to always come to you. Go get it. Reach for peace. Reach for equality, equity, and inclusion. And when you do that, God will do the best. He'll do the rest. And I like that because it helps us understand that the victory is not ours because the battle is not ours. So God bless you, Common Power. Do y'all mind if we pray? I don't want to offend anybody. Father, we give you praise and thanks for this moment, the power that exists in Common Power. Thank you now for the sweat equity, the sleepless night. Thank you for the sacrifice, commitment, that is required to bring change in the world. Help us, we pray, understand the power of the work that we do. Bless us individually, bless us collectively, the homes from which we come. Bless, oh God, we pray, the people that you put in our lives to make it sweet. And oh God, as we travel back and forth over the country, let us always know that we are in the hollow of your hands. Thank you for providing and protecting our families. Keep us now as we continue to work, knowing that the work never ends. Our faith in you is our key to give us strength so that we will run and not be weary. And the people of God said, amen.
Well, so we have about 15 minutes. We said 24 hours of teaching. We're committed to that. These conversations are part of teaching. Teaching education comes in various forms. Something that David asked us to do, he sent it in the text because we've all been communicating in different ways for the past more than 24 hours. And he said, wouldn't it be great if we could share a reflection? David and I lead the learning tours, and we have a number of people from CP who come along with us. And when we lead those tours, this is not just about learning history. This is a journey of self. We very much understand history and exploring history and learning about history as a journey of self, of looking in the past to help you become a better person as we navigate our modern society and look to make a better world in the future. And so part of that journey of self means reflecting on what you've gone through at different moments. So what I would like to ask everyone to do in here is to come and say in our last moments, one reflection, one thing that you have that you're going to take away from the past 24 hours. Should we popcorn it or just going to go down the line faster? Let's go first.
Why y'all doing this to me? I got one reflection that I could take, and it was a lady that was here last night. And she said to me, Pastor, thank you, because I would have never heard this in my church. I thought that was powerful. Wow.
One thing, and I think it speaks, Pastor, to something that you had just mentioned just a second ago, and that is the far reach and the influence. One of the key lessons of the civil rights movement, although we often think that everybody was involved, it really was just a handful of people. And it's always been just a handful of people. There were only 12 disciples, just a handful of people. And I think the lesson is it doesn't take a lot of people to make a big difference. It doesn't take a lot of people in the sanctuary to have a far reach. And that's what we're doing. That's what Common Power is doing. It's having a big influence with just a handful of people. But we should never be discouraged by numbers, because the reach, the power, the influence will be there. Difference makers. Difference makers.
Yes.
I'm like right in the middle between Dr. Jeffries and Dr. Uhuru. So, I don't know if it's gonna go well. I think I might ramble a little bit, but I think the last 24 hours have been like a whirlpool. And to use a metaphor here, because I talk in metaphors a lot, sometimes doing this work, I feel like a fish in a very strong current that I'm just kind of moving along. And it just becomes kind of like the norm, right? You're just swimming along. And then there are other fishes with you. But I think what is the beauty of the education here, and I actually don't do a lot of education at Common Power ever since I left Action Academy. So to have this super immersive and intensive experience, 24 hours of straight education, I know I'm impacted, but I was surprised that what impacted me more was seeing how other people are impacted, how other fish join the stream and the current that we're riding on. And then it just puts everything into perspective, how fast we're going, how many people are with us. And honestly, I did not think I would survive 24 hours. I've never pulled an all-nighter in my entire life. And I truly did not think I would be able to do it. But there were moments in the AM where I would learn something about Dr. Uhuru that I don't think he's ever disclosed to any other human being. Or like if we laughed in delirious, like drunken laughter, because it's like, what, 3 a.m. after? Oh, that's right. No, there was no drinking. Yes. Delirious. We were delirious. That it felt like so much more than I thought it would ever be. And I was so invigorated by that. Sometimes just as much as talking to a voter. So, yeah.
Real quick, and you're also
What?
graduating.
I am. I'm actually currently in graduate school. I am missing so much class, y'all. I'm missing so much class. To a room full of professors, I'm missing so much class.
All right.
All right.
Graduate.
And I am graduating. My grade is great. Don't worry.
All right.
You made this easy, Ben. I'm very grateful for Ben. The reality is that I won't tell the elevator story, but I will tell you, I was on the elevator, I didn't know where I was going. And this human being who I had met before presses the button and goes, well, it opens this way. And from that point forward, Ben has basically been the glue that's helped everything move efficiently the last 24 hours. So I think we're super grateful for you. I give everybody nicknames. I told her nickname was MacGyver. She was like, who's that? Trying to make us feel old. But she's been that efficient. Also, I have to say this too. Celestia and Devin online, I didn't interact with them at all in person, but then every time I went on and saw the chat and the way that they were keeping things moving, Hassan and Terry and I write about the civil rights movement and foot soldiers. And then of course, in the work that we do with CP and my good fortune to be down in Selma, Alabama with the team, Charles, and meeting people like Joanne Bland and the foot soldiers. Those are the people that keep the engine running, right? And so people remember the beautiful words, but they don't see often the work that goes into bringing those folks together. So grateful for you. That's what I take away. That's my reflection.
So we had this conversation. I was so confused for the longest about how often Charles would travel. Like, how does he manage it? How do you make it work? And I thought it was taxing. I thought it was exhausting. And then I came from Pennsylvania at 4 o'clock in the morning after getting 3 hours of sleep while planning to do an all-nighter the next day. And it wasn't until after I was asked just about every hour, are you tired yet? Are you sleepy? Are you tired yet? And I realized that while yes, I can acknowledge that I am tired and it's a state of being, but it's no longer something that I complain about. And now I realize how you travel so often and so efficiently because, like I said before, this work provides a lot more than it could ever take. That's my biggest takeaway.
I see it's getting toward some of the last people, but what I took away from all of this, it was like having 24 hours of my favorite podcasts going all the time. It was nonstop and they all built on each other. But I was most taken with the professor that lost his job and his story. And how he had driven, 5 hours down here with his 18-year-old daughter. And he really he was shaken by the whole experience, lost his job. He goes, I don't know that I can have another job in education. It was, and I could see as he talked and afterwards that he had found community, and you could see it was a little bit like there was a weight lifted from him, and I was so taken about that, and that's what Common Power is. It's community, and I love that aspect about it. I've been on the learning tour 4 times, and every time it's just more incredible, even though I've heard a lot of the same speeches and been a lot of the same places, but there's always a nugget. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Steve and I love to go out and walk around, and we listen to podcasts. And over the last 40 days, we joke, donkey dropped, and we get ready, put our shoes on, lace them up, and go out the door and walk and listen. And that's what I do a lot of. Is I I get my exercise that way, and sometimes I'll do it inside. So the good thing was I wasn't on the elliptical for 24 hours because I could easily have been. But what I was, in addition to listening to this as much, we took a couple of hours. We dozed off. I had my earbuds in. Was that we were on the edge of our seat. I mean, I kept finding myself like right on the edge of my seat. It was so compelling. So thank you, everybody, all of you out there who are, if you're still watching or if you come back and watch, thank you for being presenters here. It was mind blowing for me. And that's the thing that Common Power does for me, is it just makes my mind just blow up, and the possibilities of not just what I can do, what we can do, and the amplification of that is just incredible, because I personally have experienced it. And it's that each one teach one thing. I mean, it's just blowing up out there, and it's just so cool. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize two of my colleagues, Dr. Jessica Magnani, she was here last night, and online, Professor Carmen Simpson gave me a lot of insight and a lot of the wherewithal to continue through with the 24 hours, thinking constantly in terms of what it must be for Common Power to have done this in that 24-hour span of time. Thought of Dr. Harry Edwards, and one of the words that he used was struggle. See the struggle that's denoted by Frederick Douglass when he said it might be a physical one. It might be a moral one. It may be both, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. So I'm so appreciative for what Common Power has done and what they've demonstrated to the world, and efforts for all of us, empowering us instructors to realize that we got a job to do, and it's rooted in the struggle of our ancestors from then to now and forever. Thank you, Common Power, for all y'all did down here. And I'm gonna keep saying it. See y'all next year.
Daryl don't want to go. Daryl don't want to go. I'm gonna go and then you close this out. Sure, let's do it. So when you said the closing remarks for us, Pastor, and you said the prayer, and you talked about our families. I travel a lot. I travel a lot. And whenever I think about my family that I miss, I've got 2 sons, teenage boys, and I've got a 3-year-old daughter who kind of doesn't understand why daddy's gone so much. It's heavy. It's heavy, and also I'm doing it for the right reasons. I miss my family a lot, but I'm only here because of their support. And it made me think about my family. It made me think about your family and your family. And that's the only reason why we could do this, is because we got people holding us down, having our backs in the places that we're from. And some of them are the close family, and some of them are extended family. Some of them are the people who work for Common Power we didn't name, who are doing the books and making sure the money flowing through, and are helping us lock stuff down. Thank you all for supporting us. We are only here because you hold us up. Thank you so much. We love y'all.
That resonates. I travel a lot too. I'm exhausted, and not just because I've been up for 24 hours, but because we have worked so hard. And I'm looking at you and Charles and everybody. We've worked so hard to bring this together. I have 3 kids. I have twins who are in college and a 13-year-old, and you want them to understand why you're doing this. You want to serve as an example, like Bob Zellner told us, to make sure that you are teaching them how to live a life of service, how to change the world. And 2 things come out of that exhaustion. The first one is that my girls watched. and posted things. And that just touched me so much because it was them saying, you know, I see what you're doing, and it helps relieve that mom feeling, that guilt of, well, I'm here and I'm not there, but they're with me with that. And the other thing was I do read all the comments. He's right. And I respond to people, you know, not the bad ones occasionally, but the good ones. And to see the number of people from different states overnight and this morning who literally said, I thought I was educators. I thought I was alone. This is a lot. I'm so happy to see that people are fighting for me. That was everything. That was everything. So those are the reflections I take out of that. And we are coming to the last moments, and it's only right if everybody please come up here so we can say goodbye to everybody.
Let's wait till we get everybody up here for this part. We need to all turn to Dr. Terry Ann Scott and give her a round of applause for her. You can't tell from this, you're barely a year in to working with Common Power, and you have done things that I don't think that we thought we could do, maybe that you didn't think that you could do, but it never stops you from trying. You do things that no one thinks that we can do, and you keep pushing. Thank you for pushing us so hard and believing, even when we maybe don't believe. You keep putting one foot in front of the other, and that's the only thing that has got us through this struggle. That is it. Because sometimes we don't believe, and it's all right as long as we keep moving forward together, further together. All right.
Right.
Hands in. You want to do?
Yeah. Let's do it together. It's our last seconds. All right, Daryl's here.
We got listen, this is what we do all the time. It is never about one moment. It's about every moment after this as well. The only way we get there is together. Further together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Further together. Right. Right.